This one, we're going to be doing more of a 102. We're going to be going a little higher level into analyzing the decisions and some of the more minutiae of the game here.
All right, well, we will go ahead and take a look at the venues that these players will be playing on. And just kind of looking at these, in particular, looking at the two bands, you can see Hyronious bans Balcony 2 of 3 in the bottom right, and Butterscotch bans Veranda 5 of 8 in the upper right. So 2 of 3 means you need to complete 2 missions, and you have 3 missions available. Veranda 5 of 8 means you have to complete 5 missions out of 8 missions available. So even from just this little bit of information, you can start to get a little bit of a feel for these players' play styles. Butterscotch not liking those really big venues where you have to do lots of missions, whereas Hyronious not really liking those venues that are smaller with lower mission counts.
Yep, definitely true. As you said, play styles abound amongst players, and players definitely have preferences and what their skill sets sort of lend themselves to. I know you, for example, tend to really like the 3 of X venues, whereas I kind of tend to prefer the larger ones.
Yeah, it's true. This could very much have been a draft between any two players in the community, but it is between Hyronious and Butterscotch, and we're going to flip over to their first game, and their first game will be happening on Ballroom. Hyronious will be playing as the character we call Teal, and Butterscotch will be starting off on the sniper side. 3.5 minutes for Hyronious to get 4 missions done in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Starting off in a game, there's lots of things you can choose to do. You can start by getting some flirt progress. You can start by going to statues and getting inspect progress. Or you can do what Hyronious is doing, is just kind of waiting in conversation for something better to show up.
So something that you just saw Hyronious do is waiting until this character had finished what we call an animation cycle. Each of these characters is beautifully drawn and rendered. Each has, they're not on shared skeletons or anything. They each have their own separate animations. They're each separate art. All of them is unique, and they all have their own separate animations. But AI will always do the same sort of cycles, and won't break animations and cut them short or otherwise screw around. And snipers who watch for that sort of thing can notice those animation breaks and shoot for them.
Yep, so we see here Hyronious inspecting these statues. We go through 2 statue animations, but then we have to put it down. You can't put the statue down in the middle of an animation, and an AI will never stay longer than 2. So Hyronious gets 2 inspects, and then we're kind of out of time. It's time for us to go. We come into this conversation with our seduction target. We pick up a little bit of flirt progress.
Yep, the double agent here is here as well. So Hyronious could choose to fire off this banana bread. But when you banana bread, you want to kind of wait for as many people as possible to be in conversation circle, because giving off lowlights can be really, really harmful to you. Especially if you give off a lot of them and knock out other characters who the sniper is considering as potential spies. So Hyronious chooses not to take the banana bread here after all, as the double agent leaves us.
Yep, so our seduction target left us as well. So Hyronious, sitting in this conversation, does want to get moving. Steady mission progress is typically a good strategy for finishing mission wins. You want to not do it all at the very end because it can become very obvious to the sniper. So here Hyronious will chase our seduction target again. We'll pick up more flirt progress. We don't talk the instant we get to the conversation. We wait a couple seconds, and then we're up to 80% done with seduce the target.
No combining missions here. We'll just get that flirt done. But with time ticking down, Hyronious is kind of in a tough spot here. With almost down to a minute left and still no mission progress completed, Hyronious is kind of in trouble here, and it has to really do some stuff. And that's kind of an in-joke in the community, is team do stuff. And one of those things is a bug, which we take right there, and I think it was completely blocked by the pillar there. I don't think Butterscotch saw it at all.
Yeah, those bugs, I mean, you just try to do it in a place where the sniper's not going to be looking, because if they're looking right at you, unless you have a lot of cover, it's difficult to conceal. We got the bug done. We're going to come next to our seduction target again. We'll be offered a drink. We could purloin, but no, Hyronious doesn't want it. We will finish seduce the target. 36 seconds now. We have a lot more things we have to do. We have to finish 2 more missions. Remember, we went to statues early, so we just need 1 more little statue visit to finish off inspects. But we only have 26 seconds left. We could try to find the double agent, but the double agent's not here. Hyronious going to statues. We'll do the inspect, but with 18 seconds left, Hyronious has to choose, do we want to swap the statue as well?
And that's a pretty common tactic for spies, especially here at the end of games. Um, but Hyronious is just inspecting, not swapping as the laser zooms in on us, looking. And Hyronious, with 5 seconds left, I don't think can finish here. I don't even think we'll have time to get to the window and time add.
Yeah, we absolutely don't. And so, unfortunately, these are the kinds of situations that can spies can run into. You're here with 13 seconds. You really don't want to swap. You can see the laser staring at you. But if you don't swap, you're not going to have time from here to do anything else. Hyronious doesn't take the swap, runs to window, but isn't able to make it there in time. And that slow play means they're not able to finish missions. The sniper here, Butterscotch, is able to hold and not shoot a civilian, and that means Butterscotch takes the first point.
Yeah, very nice sniper game from Butterscotch. Kind of figuring out when spies could be finishing and when they can't be, and having patience there is really something that comes with a lot of experience and just kind of getting a feel for how spies play. So really nice job from Butterscotch by not taking a panic shot there and giving Hyronious the win.
All right, well, now Butterscotch will be playing on the spy side of Ballroom. 3.5 minutes on the clock. Hyronious on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Butterscotch also taking control very quickly here, and is going to go get steady mission progress by going into statues right away. That's something that a lot of players are kind of reluctant to do because it gives you that early highlight and sort of focuses the sniper's attention on you early on. But Butterscotch not afraid of it, just getting that early mission progress with that one inspect, and then we'll see what Butterscotch chooses to do from here. It looks like Butterscotch almost wanted to go for that bug, but walks all the way around instead and goes to windows.
You can see here Butterscotch, the ambassador in this game is the character Kane. In the previous game, the ambassador was this character who we call Taft. It's very common for players to choose Taft as the ambassador. Taft has a very large character model, which is better for hiding those bug animations. But some players simply choose a random ambassador to maybe make it harder for the sniper to track from game to game.
Yep, cast selection is something, of course. The spy has full control over the double agent, the seduction target, and the ambassador. The game randomly assigns the suspected double agents from the remainder of the party available to them. And Butterscotch looks like it's probably just randoming everybody. Meanwhile, we're going to fire off a fake banana bread here, and then immediately purloin the guest list, trying to distract the laser away. And I don't think Hyronious has seen that the list has faded.
Yeah, it's very common to try to let off a contact, say banana bread, whether it's real or fake. The sniper will immediately start low-lighting people that were not in conversation. And when the sniper's doing that, you can take the guest list, you can bug the ambassador, you can transfer a microfilm, you can do lots of things while the sniper's distracted. Butterscotch may have gotten away with his purloin cleanly by distracting the sniper in that way.
And also, snipers don't always pay attention to every hardtail. I mean, over time, you sort of learn with experience that you have to check every hardtail site eventually. But especially earlier on, it's very, very easy to just sort of forget about one mission site or another for 30 seconds or a minute at a time. And then you check back and notice that the list is gone and realize, oh no, I have no idea who took it. And that can be really, really powerful on its own. Even if you get nothing else done, the sniper just noticing that that list is gone is really often going to provoke a shot coming off.
Minute 14 on the clock. Butterscotch is going to go to statues. We will be able to finish off our inspects. Remember, we got one inspect at the beginning of the game, which is why we're highlit. And now that we're here, this will be Butterscotch's second mission done. We still have to finish flirt. We need one more flirt probably. And we need to get a real contact because the banana bread that we said to distract from the purloin. Ooh, Butterscotch broke animation. We put the statue down when we weren't holding it still. An AI will never do that. If Hyronious noticed that, saw that little jerk in our character as we put the statue down, that could have been an immediate spy shot. It looks like it wasn't noticed. Oftentimes, snipers aren't really watching for those animation breaks, but if you catch it out of the corner of your eye, it can be immediate death for the spy.
Yeah, and that's something that we in the community call etiquette. Just kind of knowing how AI behave. That's sort of how they walk around, how they perform their actions. And that's just a really, really broad set of knowledge that you develop over time as well. And part of that is, again, the animations that we had talked about earlier. And part of that is just sort of knowing how they path, how they walk, how they like to do things. We walk away now and go in for the real banana bread to finish things off. It's going to come off, and it's a white test. This will go off. There's going to be overtime, though.
Yeah, and you can see here, Hyronious had an idea of who to shoot there, As soon as the banana bread happens, the laser just swings over and snaps onto us. But Hyronious knows that because the banana bread happened with less than 10 seconds on the clock, there's going to be at least some overtime if the spy finishes. If the spy doesn't finish, the game just ends at 0 seconds. If the spy does finish, Hyronious will get a couple seconds to take a shot and waits until then to pull the trigger, just in case they were wrong about Irish being the spy.
Yeah, so Hyronious picks up the sniper victory, evening things up at 1-1. We've seen 2 sniper wins so far.
2 sniper wins so far. Now we're going to go to Terrace. We saw Terrace in the previous match, and Hyronious will be playing as Bling Twin. Butterscotch back on the sniper side. We alternate every time. And we'll start this game in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So this early time where all the characters are moving around, we call chaos time, because it is, in fact, as the name would suggest, pretty chaotic. All the characters moving around trying to find landing spots. And that's a time when a lot of players can do tricky things if they're of the mind to do it. Things like sneaky bugs in the middle of that, things like sneaky flirts. It's a thing that some players will take advantage of. So far, neither of these players have done so, but it's something to watch moving forward here.
Hyronious is in conversation with the double agent, but there's still quite a few people out of conversation. You really don't want to say banana bread with so many people out because it gives the sniper so many free lowlights, especially on Terrace. You can almost always get a banana bread with maybe 1 person out of conversation or even 0 people out of conversation. So Hyronious has to wait here. We could be making progress elsewhere. We could go join that conversation and flirt with our seduction target. We could go look at statues. We could go to bar. But so far, we don't want to do anything to draw attention to ourselves.
No, and that's pretty common. I mean, it's really, really hard to sort of get up the nerve to do hardtails and do... I mean, it's sort of a joke in the community of team do stuff, which is people who just kind of very, very aggressively play their spy games and do hardtails like bugs. But, you know, as strong as that can be, it's really, really hard to sort of do them in ways that aren't seen, and it's scary. Which is why a lot of players will sort of tend to slow play things like this instead, as the seduction target leaves as we try to go in for that flirt, unfortunately. I would not be surprised to see Hyronious chase him down and follow him to that other conversation circle to hopefully pick up the flirt and the banana bread as well.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Hyronious. At this point, there's only 1 person out of conversation. Well, now there's 2. Now there's 3. So maybe an opportunity for a contact come and gone. Hyronious will walk over to bar, get a drink. This could set us up to trigger someone else to take the list at some later point. We could use that to get a lot of mission progress done very quickly.
Definitely true, and equally powerful, potentially get somebody else shot. Hyronious, if they're watching the party, kind of has a feeling for all these highlights that are glowing here. Some of them for statues, some of them for other things. But as our selection target comes to us, we do not flirt. Hyronious is choosing not to flirt here. Maybe he's just leaning on a frame game here instead as time is ticked down.
Yeah, there's a limit to how long you can stay at certain places, and Hyronious maybe thought they've been at bar just too long. If they stayed enough for the flirt, it might start to look suspicious. And that might be right, but at this point we're still sitting with 0 mission progress. So Hyronious with 1 minute on the clock needs to find a good frame target and needs to set them up to take the shot. We haven't said banana bread yet, and it's going to be very difficult to convince the sniper to shoot until someone says banana bread. So we join conversation with the double agent. 1 person out of conversation. We could contact here, and Hyronious will. There's banana bread done. That could be a low light onto Pearls, who's not in conversation, although Butterscotch doesn't seem to be taking that low light quite yet. And the shot coming off onto Red Dress, Hyronious has successfully framed Red Dress as the spy for finishing.
Now, the question is, I'm not sure what Red Dress had done there. So a sniper, good snipers will, and I say good, I mean experienced snipers, will often kind of keep rough counts of the missions that each character has completed in their heads. And if Butterscotch were aware that Red Dress could not possibly have had the 3rd mission done, which I don't think she did, then Butterscotch would know that a shot is not necessary here, and he could have held and waited to see what else happens.
Yep, so Red Dress just spent pretty much the entire game sitting in this conversation. The only thing that Butterscotch could have potentially been worried about happens right here, where Red Dress kind of walks into conversation next to the ambassador. If you're not paying very close attention, you might say, oh no, Red Dress might have bugged as she walked into that conversation next to the ambassador. It's kind of hard to see the arm. If you're not sure, then as soon as Red Dress gets a real banana bread contact, you might think, well, I have to shoot her because she could have 3 missions done. But if you're watching that bug really carefully, you might know, no, there's no way Red Dress has a bug there. The arm doesn't go out. I don't need to shoot her at the end because she can only have at most 2 missions done. Seduce the target and contact the double agent.
All right, so we see the first spy win coming off here as Hyronious picks up the wrong shot. And now Butterscotch will have the chance to even things up here, playing as the character we call Duke.
Butterscotch playing as Duke on Terrace in 3, 2, 1, playing it. We see more random ambassador here from Butterscotch. I think this confirms as Orange Sari is now the ambassador. Meanwhile, we're going to statues early, and at this point, Hyronious has to make a decision. We can either highlight bar visitors to try to track who might purloin the guest list, or we can highlight statue visitors to track who might have completed inspect statues. Very rarely will snipers highlight for both, because it can be hard to remember who did what. And you can see here that it looks like Hyronious has made up his mind. He's going to be highlighting for statue visits and just memorizing who's been to bar.
And worth noting as well that Butterscotch has started the game off at statues on both of his spy games so far. Like I said, some players really are very wary about inspecting, especially early on, but Butterscotch has no fear of doing so. I think we were hoping that the Queen would land in this conversation circle, but instead she goes to bar, so we're just sitting here in what is essentially a useless conversation circle for us and doing what we call idling, which is just sort of sitting, burning time off, and looking unsuspicious.
Our seduction target does come in. No! Just walks right past our conversation. You hate to see that if you're Butterscotch. We could try to chase that flirt, but Butterscotch instead will join conversation with the double agent, let off a contact. This is a little bit suspicious if Hyronious is paying attention. If you see someone immediately change conversations and then immediately contact, that could look like something that a spy might do. And you can see more dynamic lighting here from Hyronious. Now we're highlighting for who has the real contact, who was in conversation with the double agent when the spies had banana bread.
And Terrace, because of the known double agent, is one of the venues where that's really a really strong tool for the sniper, is tracking that real banana bread. In most games, the spy will complete banana bread. In most games, the spy will complete flirt. So you can reliably assume that the spy is probably going to be trying to get that mission done. And by tracking who has a real one, it's a really good way of tracking who in the party could or could not be the spy.
We went over to Windows there with our seduction target to get some progress on Seduce the Target. We've now chased our seduction target back into this conversation on top of it. We still have a lot of flirting to do. We're going to do some right now. 77%, so one more flirt will do. And then Butterscotch still has to inspect one statue. We can either go inspect now and then flirt after we inspect, or we can wait here, flirt after about 40 seconds, and then go inspect. We're going to do it now because it can be considered very suspicious and spy-like to go to statues super late in the game.
Yep. It can also be suspicious right now, though. There are a lot of players who will just shoot the person finishing statues with under a minute left. And it looks like Hyronious is one of those. If the shot comes off on Duke here.
That's the caster curse for you. Yeah, unfortunately, when we finish inspects, it just makes us such a huge target. And Hyronious is thinking, okay, I know Duke has finished inspects. I know Duke was in conversation with the double agent when they said banana bread, because they're high lit, and that's what we were highlighting for. And Butterscotch could very well have completed Seduce the Target. It's really hard to keep track of who's next to you when you're talking. So 1, 2, 3, that adds up to 3 missions, and Hyronious takes the shot, and in this case, it's onto the spy.
Yeah, which puts Hyronious up after sweeping Terrace up 3-1 here in this set. Again, this one is a little bit different format. We're still playing best of 7, but here, whereas before, if it had been tied at the end, it would have gone to overtime. Here, there's no overtime. So if this finishes 6-6, it'll just be a tie and go into the record books as such.
All right, well, we are back onto Library, the classic venue here of SpyParty. Hyronious on the spy side, playing as Red Dress. Butterscotch on the sniper side. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. So 5 missions to do. I don't think we'll see a repeat of what Thabsies did on Library. We just hide behind the pillar for 2 minutes. It looks like Hyronious will chase our seduction target. We don't stand too close to her in conversation because there's not really a good spot for us to stand without crowding. So we're going to need to flirt a couple more times. 40% done from this distance when we get a green on that action test minigame.
Yep. Green tests help a lot, especially with flirt. It can be the difference between getting flirt done in 2 action tests or in 3 if you only get whites. So that can be a really, really big bonus, especially early on, where really mission progress is at a premium here on a giant venue like library. We're in the conversation circle with a double agent here, and clearly the plan is to hopefully get a banana bread off at an opportune time. Once a little bit more of this party settles into conversation circles, Hyronious presumably will be firing off that mission.
And you can see Hyronious is angling the camera to keep track of the rest of the party. Unfortunately, the double agent leaves, so we're not going to be able to get contact the double agent done as he's not in our conversation. But that's something you'll see spies do a lot. They're constantly looking around, trying to keep track of what other people are doing. In essence, kind of playing the sniper side themselves as the spy.
Hyronious chooses to reject a drink here. A lot of spies will reject drinks when they're offered if they aren't going to purloin or pick up a fingerprint, because having a drink in your hand means you can't do other things like pick up books, pick up statues. It really kind of restricts your options. So a lot of spies will choose to reject drinks fairly often when they have the opportunity instead of taking them.
Hyronious wasn't able to contact the double agent, and now we're walking all the way across the venue. This is something to pay attention to on these larger venues like library. When you're walking back and forth, it can burn a lot of time off the clock. We tried to join conversation with our selection target there, but we got bounced out of the way as another AI kind of took the spot we were looking for. And so now we're stuck at the window, and we weren't able to contact, we weren't able to flirt, and we still have a lot of missions to do. We'll be offered a drink.
But this is one of them. Yep, we take up the green test on that purloin. So now, as we've seen before, Toby is going to walk around and offer the drink to a bunch of people. But it gets taken very, very quickly right away, and the fate is visible on screen. So Hyronious knows, or Butterscotch, excuse me, knows that the drink has been taken. But now we have to see what the reaction is. The laser's swinging around, trying to figure out what had happened, and who could have possibly been as part of that purloin chain.
Meanwhile, Hyronious inspected one statue and then did what's called a green test swap. So much like the list doesn't disappear immediately when you get a green test on a purloin, when you get a green test on a statue swap, the statue doesn't actually change in your hands. Instead, the next person to come pick up the statue will have it change in their hands, and the sniper will have to remember who was here previously. Hyronious does finish all 3 inspects, and now walks away, goes back to our seduction target, and now Orange Sari comes here and picks up the statue. Let's see if Butterscotch is on top of this. Orange Sari gets the highlight, but Butterscotch is not checking the statue, doesn't even know at this point that it's swapped. It's happening completely off camera. You can see it's changed to a head. It's not green for the sniper, by the way. It's green for us as spectators. So now the sniper is going to finally get a chance when Orange Sari walks away to see if the statue has changed. There it is. Now, what's the reaction going to be from Butterscotch? Meanwhile, Hyronious is just go, go, go. We try to bug the ambassador. Unfortunately, it's going to miss. And Butterscotch, I have to think, is feeling behind. We haven't been low-lighting people. We know that there's been a purloin. We know that there's been a swap. It puts a huge amount of pressure on the sniper to shoot. Butterscotch hasn't done it yet, though, so Hyronious still has to finish missions. We try at that time, and we actually get the bug off. It's right under the laser, but Butterscotch didn't notice.
And now we only need one more flirt from anywhere near the seduction target to finish off that mission. But we're going to pick up a book instead, just sort of idly burning off some time here, because Hyronious doesn't have a good idea, probably, of how suspicious he is. We're going to go take the book away and just try and pick up this flirt right here now. And I like this decision. Having the book in hand might suggest to the sniper that we still have missions left to finish as we go in here to finish. And an attentive sniper might not take the shot here if they've missed one of the missions. But time is ticking down, and it doesn't look like a shot is coming off. And I think Hyronious is going to pick up the mission win here.
Yeah, really nice game there from Hyronious. And it's one of those no-fear games that we talk about. You're here, you purloin the list, you delay the purloin, you come over here, you pick up the statue and you swap the statue with the delayed swap, and you're thinking, well, there's a lot of stuff happening here for the sniper to pay attention to. This Butterscotch is not on top of who'd been offered. You can see no lowlights are coming off at this point, when we should be taking lowlights for people who weren't offered by Toby. The swap is triggered and delayed. We later don't end up noticing the swap and knowing who could have caused it. So lots of noise being created for the sniper. If you're a spy that's causing the sniper to have to deal with things after things after things after things, it gives you a lot of latitude to be aggressive.
Yep, definitely true. Chaos is generally the spy's friend, and the more chaotic a party is, the harder the sniper's job is in general. But let's see how Butterscotch responds here.
Butterscotch will be playing as Plain Twin. Hyronious on the sniper side in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And the twins are often a bit of an interesting point for a lot of players, both on the spy and sniper side, because, of course, the two twins look very similar. There's the one who has the tie clip, and then their sibling who doesn't have a tie clip. If you're the sniper, it can be hard to tell them apart like that. And so oftentimes one will just end up being highlit just to keep track of who they are. And a lot of players try to end up as the twin that's not highlit, so it's harder for the sniper to notice them.
Yep, that's definitely true. A lot of snipers will just pick the one who does the first suspicious thing and keep them highlight the entire game. Butterscotch, however, is going to walk over. It looks like going for the inspects yet again. We've seen this 3 times now in a row from Butterscotch getting those early inspects done. It's becoming a theme, and something that a lot of spies will try to do is sort of mix up their play. But Butterscotch has a routine that works for him, and it's going to stick with it.
2 inspects from Butterscotch. Since we went to side statue, you can only get 2. You can only inspect statues that you're holding or are next to you. Center statues is a lot more threatening because you can get all 3 inspects done with 1 visit. The sniper knows, Hyronious knows that Butterscotch doesn't have inspects complete until they go back to statues 1 more time. We join conversation with the double agent, and you can see that camera swinging around, trying to see how many people are out of conversation to decide if it's a good time to contact the double agent by saying banana bread.
Yep, and we thus far decided it's not. There's a lot of people milling around, bouncing around, but as we've seen before, the double agent can be cruel and unforgiving, and if we don't fire it off soon, we might lose the opportunity altogether. We reject a drink in the meantime, and here comes the banana bread. It's going to be a white test, so we're going to be seen speaking. A green test, there's no speaking animation when you fire off the banana bread. And here it comes. Pretty quick reactions from Hyronious here, with some lowlights coming off. 4 lowlights available that have come off at this point in the game. And meanwhile, Butterscotch is going to go pick up more flirts here.
When you're playing as the sniper and you hear that banana bread, you want to very quickly low-light everyone you can, but in some venues, like library, you're not going to know everyone who is out of conversation since you can't see the whole venue at the same time. So you have to make a decision, how much attention are you going to pay, how much are you going to focus on getting every possible low-light, when other things could be happening in the party. Hyronious takes a couple quick lowlights for who's on screen, and then goes back to their sniper rhythm, making sure they're keeping track of all those different mission sites.
Butterscotch has been walking around kind of aimlessly at this point, however. There's nothing really over here at this part of the party, especially, and taking all this time to walk over here as the ambassador comes near us. We could have taken maybe a bug there, but we decided not to. And now the ambassador's in a really tough position, but we're going to go stand next to them and maybe go for a bug. We do a little twitch. I think it was on camera, and that's one of those things. AI don't really twitch like that, outside of a few specific things, and the sniper who's attentive can see those, and that can be a really bad giveaway for a spy.
Butterscotch isn't able to get the bug, the double agent leaves. We're going to finish off inspects. This will be our 2nd mission completion with just over 100 seconds left on the clock. We can certainly get missions done at this point if we need to. And you can see Hyronious angling, trying to get an eye on that statue, sees it hasn't been swapped. Butterscotch puts it back down, not going to swap it here, and instead going to go try to finish flirt as our selection target comes nearby.
Yep, and I like the choice here. With a minute 30 left, 3 missions done. We have to get 2 more, but the problem here is that all the remaining missions available to us are either hardtails or really time-consuming. With bug, transfer, swap, and purloin being the hardtails, of course, and fingerprint, having to find those 2 prints with an ambassador who's ruled, of course, by the RNG can be really tough as Queen takes a path near the ambassador on screen. Meanwhile, we are purloining. It's a white test, and we walk away immediately. The list missing is seen, and Hyronious is going to take the shot immediately.
Yeah, Purloin, it's a very popular mission for when you're in those dire straits where you need to make some quick progress. But if the sniper knows that you're walking away from the scene of the crime and you're holding a drink and the list is gone, sometimes it's all it takes for an attentive sniper to decide, you know what, you're probably the purloiner, it's late enough in the game, I could have missed something, I'm going to have to shoot you now because you could be finishing.
Yeah, so that's 2 venues swept in a row for Hyronious, by the way. And Hyronious is already up to a very quick 5-1 lead here. Butterscotch is in a bit of a hole, but we have seen comebacks happen before. And that's one thing that kind of happens. A lot of SpyParty competitive sets are played in this sort of best of 12 format in a lot of the different tournaments that we run. And keeping a level head and sort of keeping it together in sets like these, in positions like this, is a really important skill that's kind of underrated for competitive players.
SpyParty is a very mental game. It requires a lot of attention and focus. And, the veterans of the games are able to come back from these small deficits and keep their composure and keep playing the game. Hyronious playing as General on pub in 3, 2, 1, playing it. So notice up in the upper left, This is pub 3 of 5, which means we need to complete 3 missions out of 5 available. Hyronious starts off right next to the double agent. Early contacts are very rare because usually you don't have enough AIs settling in conversations, and as the double agent leaves, we won't be taking one. Instead, Hyronious is going to walk inside and take an early inspect, taking a page out of Butterscotch's book.
Yep, as we talked about last time, in the 3 of 5 format, you still only need 1 inspect to finish that mission, and it can be really, really threatening to do that. So we pick up the early highlight here, as we are, I think, no, us and Irish at the far statue are the 2 inspectors thus far, but that puts a lot of suspicion on us and a lot of threat in the sniper's mind. So if Hyronious is seen doing other suspicious things, we might just get shot by default, even if there's no hardtail shown.
We come to the bar, we'll request a drink from Toby. We could just take the list immediately, but that would make it very clear that we are the spy. Instead, we just take a drink, and we can trigger another character to come and take the list sometime in the next 60 seconds. There hasn't been much of a bar rush, though, so if Hyronious does that, Butterscotch may have a pretty easy time figuring out who it was that triggered the character to go take the list. So we're staying in conversation with Teal and the Ambassador. Really no chance for us to make mission progress here, and the laser is giving us a lot of perceived attention. It could just be because we're standing right outside in the front venue. The suspected double agent joins with us, so we can't even get a real contact. Hyronious is going to change conversations, come next to our seduction target, make some progress on seduce the target instead. That'll be our first flirt progress. When we pull the trigger, we click that button, we open our mouth and talk, and it will be a green action test, so we are half done with that mission.
Yep, and pub, again, the 3 of X venues, that's pub, terrace, high-rise, on certain modes at least, are pretty forgiving as far as time goes, so even though we haven't really gotten a lot done, that's not that important. With a minute 40 left to do, finding 1, maybe 2 more flirts and a banana bread, still plenty of time to get that done, so Hyronious is not really feeling any time pressure as of yet.
Minute and a half on the clock. We didn't trigger anyone to go take the list, so that timer has now expired. We can sit here and try to flirt again, but since we got 49% on the last flirt, if we flirt without moving, then it's just going to be 98%. It won't be enough to get the mission done. We're still going to need 1 more flirt after that. It's a little unfortunate that we're not just a little bit closer. You can see here, there it is, even with the second green test, 98%.
So that means that 1 more flirt is going to be necessary. It can be done from anywhere. Even the worst white flirt in the game will get you 15%. And here comes the banana bread as well. It's a fake with no double agent in our conversation circle. We do not have credit for the mission being done, whereas everybody in that sort of front conversation circle there does. No lowlights coming off for this. This is actually a really good fake, but it doesn't really seem like it's having the desired effect, as no laser reaction from Butterscotch coming off with that fake.
40 seconds now. I think Hyronious was really hoping that Boots or somebody would get shot as a result of giving them credit for a real contact. Instead, the clock is still ticking. 30 seconds. We need another flirt, and we still need a real contact, which we didn't get. When the first one is fake and the second one is real, it can be very suspicious. There's the flirt done, excuse me. We sat here another 45 seconds to get it. And with 17 seconds left, our options are extremely limited. Hyronious not going to want to be timing out here. We're going to walk over to the double agent. We'll join that conversation. We'll contact. But I think it's going to be really difficult for us to survive this. It's so suspicious that we just joined and talked. There will be overtime, maybe a second or two, where Butterscotch can line up the shot and then wait for the beeps. There it is. Butterscotch shoots immediately as soon as there's overtime, and it's the correct shot.
One underrated thing is on a venue like this where a lot of characters will get inspect done and then have real banana bread, really nice job from Butterscotch to not take the first shot as soon as Boots has that real banana bread in pocket. That's something a lot of the players will do, will just shoot the first character that could potentially be done. A really good job by Butterscotch to hold, despite Boots potentially being finished there and not taking the shot and waiting for us to finish instead.
That brings us to our second game of Pub 3 of 5. Butterscotch playing as Duke. Hyronious on the sniper side. Butterscotch starting to bring this back from down 1 to 5. And with a spy win here, would bring it back to a 1-game set. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Let's see if Butterscotch goes to early statues here again, as has been his wont. No, we're going to bar instead. We'll pick up that early delegate, presumably. A direct purloin here would be extremely bold. And we don't even delegate. We just pick up the drink innocently and walk away.
There's been so much bumping around this ambassador, who's being played by Orange Sari. That happens a lot on Pub at those doors. Lots of characters getting in each other's way. And as a sniper, that can be terrifying because it's so hard to know who might have bugged the ambassador when all of that was going on. No one has. Butterscotch has not attempted a bug. And so with 2 minutes 50 on the clock, we really haven't done much of anything at this point.
So this is an etiquette thing, by the way. Butterscotch broke animation to sit there and then did not leave. AI who are alone in a conversation circle like this will not do that. Butterscotch, meanwhile, taking the opportunity to fire off a fake PB, but nobody has real, as both the STA and the real double agent are out of the conversation circle.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate if you're Butterscotch. I mean, you don't know who the suspected double agent is. In this case, it happens to be Wheels. And so you think, well, there's so few people out. There's no double agent in my conversation. The double agent, suspected double agent is probably in that one. We're going to do another fake contact. This time, there's an SDA in our conversation, and that's it. There's no SDA in that other conversation. So for Butterscotch, this has worked out horribly. We're now the only person on the venue who could have a real contact.
Yeah, we are framing ourselves here at this point, essentially. Just finishing off my thought from before that sort of flurry of activity happened. Etiquette is something like this, where experienced players will know that, when you idle in an empty conversation circle, you only do one idle cycle. You'll take a drink and then walk away. Whereas Butterscotch broke the idle animation to take a sip and then stayed there, and it wasn't caught by Hyronious. That experience cuts both ways for sure.
We're now going to go for a real contact finally. This one is a lot better. A lot more people have real, as that big conversation now has a double agent in it. We still only have 45% on our flirt and a minute 20 left on the clock and no third mission. So Butterscotch has a lot to do and is going to walk over, chase our seduction target, try to get more flirt progress.
Worth noting as well that Hyronious did not take some lowlights from that, even though there were a couple available. There were characters who were standing alone in conversation circles, and in order to do a banana bread, you have to be in a conversation circle with somebody else. You can't just do it when you're standing there alone.
Up to 79%. One more flirt will do, but Butterscotch still has to do something else. Inspect a statue, bug the ambassador, take the guest list, and Butterscotch, just bailing out a conversation, I think maybe again another animation break, is going to go and inspect the statue. That will be our second complete mission.
Yep, and the laser swinging in, and Hyronious is not going to let us get away with it. Hyronious is just going to take the shot right now, despite us not being finished, and be on the verge of picking up the set already with a 6-2 scoreline.
Yeah, it makes sense from Hyronious. It's so difficult to know if someone's actually done with flirt or not. You don't know who the seduction target is. You don't know whether they're getting white tests or green tests. You don't know exactly how close they've been standing. So a lot of snipers will simply assume that everyone has flirt and shoot here just for contact and inspect.
Yep, and that was clearly smart. I think that the early suspicion from being the only character with a real banana bread really, really hurt us there, as clearly Hyronious' attention was focused on us as we went into that statue at the end.
All right, well, Hyronious only needs one more point to win the set. Butterscotch has to sweep the last 4 games to bring it back to a draw. And we are playing on a courtyard, 4 of 7, 4 missions to do. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. And the reason it's 4 of 7 and not 4 of 8 is because there's no transfer, because there's no bookshelves, because you don't keep books outside.
Maybe you don't.
Hyronious gonna try to chase down our seduction target, but the conversation looks kind of full, so decides just to sit here at windows, doesn't want to try to force their way into conversation. Seduction target will leave in the meantime, so no early progress to speak of from Hyronious' spy side.
Worth noting as well that Courtyard is similar to Pub in that you can get your inspects done with just one statue visit here. You only need 2 inspects to finish the mission, and both of the statue sets here on Courtyard are sets of 2. So really, anybody who goes to statues, in most cases, can be done with that mission. And highlights here on people going to statues are at a premium, as you can see several members of this party glowing brightly already.
Hyronious now going to let off a fake contact that will knock out Salmon.
No, it's real.
Banana bread.
It's real. It will knock out Salmon, who's currently at statues, but this will be a real contact for us, and lots of other people were in conversation. So a decent contact, I would say, all things considered.
However, it's knocking out a couple highlights of early statue visitors, and those are people who would naturally have a lot of suspicion early on, and that's kind of unfortunate, but all things considered, it's okay. You want that mission progress done, and you still have a lot of the party available to you with only those 2 lowlights. I think Butterscotch may have missed 1 or 2. But either way, we're going in for that flirt. It's a white test, 34%, and getting that steady mission progress, as we've talked about, is so important.
Courtyard is often considered a really good venue for newer players to play. There's no tricky things like trees on redwoods getting in the way. It's a relatively small venue, but it does lend itself to a natural question. Almost every spy will inspect statues. Almost every spy will contact the double agent. Almost every spy will seduce their target. And that means that you're going to have to complete one more of the remaining missions: fingerprint, purloin, or bug, or swap. And so it all comes down to, can the spy find a good opportunity to make one of those 4 things happen and get it past the sniper, who has such easy sight lines on so much of the party.
Banana bread.
Instead, we're going to fire off another fake here. I think it was an okay one, but we're letting off more lowlights and, more crucially, not getting mission progress done with a minute left to go. We still need at least 2 more flirts, and we still need to find that ever-present 4th mission, and that's going to be the real question here. Bug is always an option, purloin is always an option, and we see a lot of those on Courtyard, but Hyronious is going to have to find that pretty quick, or just time out and hope that somebody else gets shot.
40 seconds left. We're standing near our seduction target, but not in conversation with them. So no flirt will come off, and Hyronious is, just going to add some time. The clock immediately goes up 45 seconds. If Butterscotch is on top of the fact the timer just went up, they know that the spy was just at windows. And with so many people in conversation, it can be difficult to know. We bug the ambassador, we swing into the conversation. The arm was visible on the sniper side, but Butterscotch doesn't seem to have noticed, maybe distracted by the time ad trying to figure out who caused it. And suddenly we have 3 missions done. We have bug done, we have contact done, we have inspect done. We just need to finish flirt, but we have so little flirt progress. This is still going to be real time crunch for Hyronious, even if that bug was missed. We're not going into conversation with our seduction target. We're standing here in this conversation 45 seconds now after the time ad, and we still need 2 more flirts, and we're not on pace to get it done at this point. So even if we go chase our seduction target right here, right now, we're gonna have to do a little bit of fancy footwork to get flirt done. You can see us curling around trying to get as close as we possibly can. We move into conversation here. We're going to request a drink, so maybe thinking purloin is the way out of this, as we know we can't get flirt done. We'll take the flirt anyways, no reason not to, 82%, but here comes Toby, and if we're planning a last second purloin, it's being very carefully watched by Butterscotch. Here comes the purloin. It's a white test. It's going to be seen. The list disappears, and the immediate shot coming up from Butterscotch sees the purloin happen, and Hyronious, just not enough time to finish off flirt, is forced to go for the purloin. It's noticed, and that means that Butterscotch picks up the sniper win.
Wow, that was a hectic end to that game. A few things to point out here. You say that we couldn't have finished flirt, but I think if you walk away, take that flirt, walk away immediately, that will make the flirt cooldown go much faster. It gets reduced very quickly depending on how far away from the selection target you are. So what I would have liked to have seen here would have been Hyronious pick up this flirt right away, then walk away pretty much immediately, go hang out at windows far, far away, let the timer tick down, and then just come back and finish that off instead. I think that's a lot less suspicious than getting that purloin. The purloin can be really, really tempting, especially because if you get a green, it can be game winning in and of itself. But I think in general, if you have the option, a flirt is a much safer play. And that also is something that kind of just comes with experience, I think, is kind of getting a feel for when to go for those aggressive big hardtails at the end versus playing it safer.
All right, well, Butterscotch still alive in this set, now playing as Bling Twin. Remember, it is 1st to 7, so Butterscotch needs to sweep 3 in a row to earn a draw. 3 minutes 15 on the clock for Butterscotch in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And
so
we will just... not too early statues here from Butterscotch just quite yet. Looking for our seduction target. We find him in conversation. We'll plant ourselves here and pick up an early flirt.
Yep, I like this. I'm assuming, given what we've seen so far, that Butterscotch will be going to statues at some point this game, especially because it is Courtyard. But we're just going to hang out here. We'll reject the drink. That's another etiquette thing, by the way, is that Toby will give up offering at some point after 10 seconds if the spy does not either accept or reject a drink. And that is a hardtail as well, as the AI will always either take a drink or reject within, I think, 4 to 6 seconds.
Sounds about right. Butterscotch, having flirted once, will leave this conversation. Stand over at windows, let the cooldown expire. Just like you mentioned, the further you are from your seduction target, the faster you can flirt again. And we are going to try to find him over here in this conversation. We'll find a spot to enter, not right next to him. So this flirt won't be quite as good, but it does take us to 78% done. That's still pretty decent. 2 minutes 12 on the clock. We still can contact, as the double agent is right here, and indeed we will. There's the contact. We'll let off one low light, it looks like. Maybe one available onto wheels, but not taken.
And one thing that it's worth pointing out is we haven't seen either of these players going for fingerprints yet. Fingerprints can be a really, really strong mission to do, but it requires a lot of planning, and it's kind of hard, especially for newer spies, to sort of get that planning done and get that mission complete, as it does require, again, multiple visits and following the ambassador around and tracking what they touch. So I understand why we're not seeing it, but it's something that I would maybe like to see a bit more of.
Minute 35 on the clock. We've just finished flirt. Smallman was here, and we talked and sealed the deal. we still have to go to statues and do our inspects, and then just like we mentioned before, Butterscotch has to find a fourth mission: Purloin Bug, Swap, or Fingerprint. It's a little late to try to start on Fingerprint. It can be difficult to get that mission done in so little time. So Purloin, Bug, or Swap look like they might be on the menu, but Butterscotch has just been sitting in conversation here. We'll finally leave breaking animation out of the conversation. We mentioned you only leave conversation when your character goes to that idle reset. We'll pick up this statue, can get 2 inspects here, and could even go for a fingerprint, as the ambassador was the last person here at the statue touching it.
Yeah, so there's the briefcase is... Oh, we're going for the swap. It's a green swap, which means the next person to come to the statue is going to swap it for us, but it's not being seen to be swapped yet. So Butterscotch, with the missions done, is going to walk away. You can see on the screen, mission win pending, and that means the sniper can't see that, only the spy can. Butterscotch knows that as soon as someone walks over and picks up that statue, it's going to be swapped. It looks like it's going to be Duke, who is a low light. This is going to be really, really huge.
And it looks like we're just not looking at the statue, and we don't even see that it was ever swapped. Butterscotch picks up a spy win and sweeps Courtyard.
Yeah, the inspect swap is so powerful. And the paradox is that you generally want, a suspicious character to pick up the swap and maybe get shot, but with a low light picking it up instead, Hyronious just assumes, oh, they can't be swapping. They're a low light. I already know that they are not the spy. So Hyronious doesn't even bother checking the statue, doesn't see the swap, and Butterscotch just gets away with the clean spy win.
One thing to note on this spy game, which is worth keeping in mind when you're playing, when we get to this statue, we have to do 2 inspects, and we choose to do a swap as well. So if we watch the animations here, we pick up the statue, Butterscotch triggers the first inspect, and there the first inspect happens. There's our reset. That's our first statue animation. Here comes our second statue animation. We're holding it left, we're holding it tilted, we put it back down. That's 2 animations. We need to leave if we're an AI following good etiquette. AI will not stay for a 3rd cycle, but Butterscotch says, you know what? I bet the sniper is not paying attention and counting my animation cycle, thinking they have other things to worry about. I want to swap. So I'm just going to stay here for a 3rd animation cycle, which an AI will never do, breaking etiquette, so I can do that swap and then put it down after the 3rd animation. It can be a lot more visually jarring if you put it down halfway through an animation. Sometimes if you decide you want to take that calculated risk and think the sniper won't notice, isn't counting, it's sometimes better to wait through an entire cycle and put it down on the right part of the animation, even though it means you stay there longer.
Yeah, really good point as well. And a lot of etiquette things are like that. It's a calculated risk as to whether the sniper is watching, whether the sniper knows about it, about that particular etiquette rule. So tricky spies can get away with a lot of stuff, and they can really use it to their own advantage.
All right, well, after that very exciting Courtyard game from Butterscotch, we are on to High Rise, which is our final venue. So Hyronious still needs 1 more win to win the set. Butterscotch only needs 2 victories here on High Rise, 1 as spy, 1 as sniper, but not in that order, to draw the set 6-6. Butterscotch will start off as the sniper. Hyronious will start off as the spy. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And we mentioned before the sort of mindset required. Really good fortitude here from Butterscotch, keeping his mind straight, just letting things play out and taking up these wins, despite maybe feeling the pressure here.
So this is legal. The AI will sometimes just go to the center of a conversation circle. It looks very strange, but it is not necessarily the spy. But there's nothing for us in that conversation. We leave and we go to the statue. We'll pick it up and pick up 2 inspects out of the 3 that we need.
Yep, this is, again, steady mission progress, and this is 3 of 5 high rise. There's also a 4 of 8 variant. But you can see the missions again up in the top left. We have Bug, Contact, Inspect, Flirt, and Purloin are our available missions. And with 2 inspects done, and not even picking up a highlight for it, Hyronious is probably in pretty good shape here. We can play the same sort of soft tail game that is just getting inspects, contact, and flirt done. And if the sniper just isn't aware that we've ended the statue field already, Hyronious could just pick up the win by default.
2 minutes 30 on the clock. We have those inspects done. Our seduction target's not in our conversation, so Hyronious is going to have to decide at some point if we want to change conversations, chase them over there, and start our progress on seduce the target. Double agent leaves our conversation. We can't get contact here either. And as we're offered a drink, we will go ahead and take one. It can be very suspicious if you just reject, reject, reject. You typically don't want a drink in your hand. It kind of limits what you can do, but the AIs take a drink more often than not.
Yep, that's very, very true. Some snipers will, of course, track characters who reject and find multiple rejects in a row very, very suspicious. But I'm not sure if either of these players are that sort. One thing that's worth mentioning is that a lot of snipers kind of their styles dovetail as they get more experience as to what they tend to watch and what they pay attention to. Um, Neither of these players have really the game counts to be sort of experts in one of those things, but you'll hear players talking about camping or behavioralism, and that's just kind of the style that snipers like to use.
Speaking of style, Hyronious' spy style at the moment continues to be pretty slow. Minute 22 on the clock, and we haven't done anything after that first statue visit. So we're not making the kind of steady mission progress that you typically like to see. We go for a fake contact here. It will be real for the front conversation in the sniper's mind. So lots of people may be picking up some suspicion. None of them us. If one of them does something that's likely to get them shot, maybe finishing inspects at statues or something like that, and it's very important for the sniper to note at all times who is it, especially on a venue like High Rise, that has real contact and who does not have real contact.
Yep, that's definitely true. And we kind of got bailed out there, actually, because as we contacted, the suspected double agent who was in our conversation circle walked away, meaning the only people with real contact were the ones in the other conversation circle. And that's a big boon, putting a lot of suspicion onto those people and none onto us, presumably. We innocently check our watch here at the front window, but time is ticking down. We're down to 35 seconds, and all we have are those two inspects. We haven't flirted at all. We don't have a real contact. And Hyronious, without doing some real serious work right now or timeouting, is going to time out in this game.
23 seconds. General's at center statues, and now Alice is at statues. No, excuse me, Twin is at statues as well. Either one of them could be shot for finishing inspects if they have inspects and real contact done, but Butterscotch doesn't seem to think they're the spy. And so that was kind of Hyronious' last best hope here. We let off a desperation contact, but all it does is eliminate those two people as suspects. It's not even real for us. And so Hyronious is going to time out. Butterscotch is able to hold the shot, knowing that no one is finished. And Hyronious' frame game falls on deaf ears. Butterscotch brings the set 5-6.
Yeah, and with all the pressure of being down and being on match point, that hold from Butterscotch is insane. You have two characters at the very end that are going to finish inspects, which a lot of the players find so suspicious. But Butterscotch holds the shot, does not shoot either of those AI, and when they're knocked out, is vindicated immediately as the fake banana bread at the end there knocks them both out.
And this is one thing where it's so important for Hyronious to be watching the party and thinking, if I fake contact here with 8 seconds left, who am I framing? In this case, it was Alice, who had been to statues, but it also knocks out General and Twin. So if Alice is suspicious enough to be shot, that could be a spy win. But if not, and we saw that in this case she was not, that is a sniper win and a good hold from Butterscotch, propelling us to the 12th and final game of the set.
Yep. Absolutely. And this has been, again, I hate to keep belaboring the point, but Butterscotch has shown really impressive fortitude here, being down by 4 games, just holding it together, bringing it back, despite being on match point this entire time, and now on the cusp of evening things out and picking up the tie.
Butterscotch playing as Pearls, Hyronious on the sniper side, playing for the win, playing for the draw, in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
We have the same missions on again. We have Bug, Contact, Inspect, Flirt, and Purloin with microfilm swap and fingerprint off. We go in, sip our drink immediately in this conversation circle, finishing that off. And we're going to go chase down our selection target, I would assume. Yep, we'll stand next to them in the conversation circle and pick up this Flirt. It's going to be a white test for 31% here.
We saw another idle break there from Butterscotch. If it's something that your sniper is not picking up on, there's no reason to observe correct etiquette, as it usually just slows you down. But if you are an attentive sniper, it's the kind of thing you could start picking up as a pattern. Butterscotch walks away from this conversation with 31% of the Flirt done. We're heading outside, but it looks like we're not going to statues. We're just going to go to balcony, not wanting to pick up that attention for finishing inspects at this point.
Nope, and as we've seen, the time is pretty forgiving here on High Rise, 3 of 5 especially. We have some time to idle here, and as Pearls, these characters all have different walking speeds, by the way. Pearls is the slowest character in the game, followed by Orange Sari there, who we can see in the back conversation circle. But Butterscotch will go back to the front conversation circle. Time doesn't, or the walking speed doesn't really matter as much on a smaller venue like High Rise.
We pick up more flirt. We're going to reject a drink again, not wanting to take one. Our selection target leaves immediately after we flirt. That's part of the danger. You don't want to talk as soon as you enter a conversation because that seems very much like a spy trying to make progress. But if you wait too long, your selection target or double agent or whoever you're trying to talk to might leave.
Yep, and Butterscotch, instead of doing that, is going to go pick up statue progress instead. I mean, Butterscotch really likes his inspects, clearly, as we've seen throughout this set. This is no exception. We pick up the highlight for it. But this party has not been all that active. It's just us and Cowboy at this point who have those highlights. And let's see if we get the animations correct. Yep. No, we break animation yet again, putting that statue down, unfortunately. But I don't think it was seen. At least no shot coming off at this time.
Yeah, if you're not being shot for the etiquette, it's not a problem. But against a lot of snipers, that kind of animation break is going to cause you a lot of pain. We're going to finish inspects here, having gone statue to statue. Take a look at the animation putting the statue down very gently from Butterscotch. That's our first mission done. We still need another flirt or two, and we still need to find the double agent for a contact.
Yep, and unfortunately, the selection target's position is kind of blocked, so we have to go across the conversation circle, which means that one more flirt's going to be needed after the screen test. We have 89% done. But with a minute left, we're going to need one more flirt, and then presumably a banana bread or one other mission, whether that be a bug or a purloin here.
53 seconds now. The double agent's not going to enter our conversation because the SDA was in it. The DA and the SDA will never be in the same conversation at the same time. Luckily, the suspected double agent leaves, so now double agent can join our conversation, and if they do, we'll be able to get a contact. But the moment the double agent's at statues, not going to be joining anytime soon. 35 seconds left, and the SDA rejoins our conversation. That means the double agent will never join. Double agent goes back to statues now. We can finish our flirt here pretty soon. That'll be our second mission, but if we're waiting for the double agent to join, we're going to be waiting way longer than this 24 seconds, unfortunately. Flirt done, 2 missions done. We need one more. Toby's nearby. We could go for the emergency purloin, seeing that the double agent is not about to path to our conversation. At this point, for Butterscotch, that might be our best option. Toby comes over to us, offers the drink. It has to be the purloin. It has to be now. It will be a white test, so the list will disappear. Is Hyronious looking? Is Hyronious looking at the list? We haven't checked the list. 5 seconds left to take the shot. 4 seconds. We haven't seen the tray. We haven't seen the list is missing, and Butterscotch gets away with it, takes the list, takes the game, and takes the draw.
Yeah, the overtime beep beeps happened there, and Hyronious just so confused as to what happened, not even taking the shot. I mean, if the beep beeps happen as a sniper, you know that somebody is done and the shot should come off. But Hyronious kind of befuddled there, frankly. Just lets the time tick away unanswered, and Butterscotch picks up the spy win, and showing a really impressive thing here, running off 4 straight games to even things up and eke out this tie.
This is kind of it goes back to, as a sniper, you have 15 seconds left. You have some suspects. Some have been to statues, maybe. And you need to be watching these mission sites late in the game to think, how could someone finish at this point? Watch the ambassador, who could be bugged. Watch the tray, which could be the list could be taken. And here, Hyronious just not giving the proper focus to Toby. You can see we zoom out and zoom away, and we just never check it here in the last 10 seconds. And that's our downfall, because it's exactly when Butterscotch chooses the purloin.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of attention being paid to Cowboy there, taking that bug path, but the bug very clearly not being taken, and kind of befuddles Hyronious when top suspect did not take that bug, and yet overtime happens anyway.
All right, well, that was SpyParty 102. I know lots of stuff that we talked about. I'm going to take this opportunity to give one piece of advice that we didn't get a chance to mention during the set, and then SpedMonkey, I'll turn it over for you for your one piece of extra advice. Mine will be do fingerprint. We didn't see a lot of fingerprint in this set. I'm not sure we saw maybe any fingerprint in this set, but fingerprint is a great mission, very strong, and definitely worth paying some attention to.
Yep, definitely true. I think my piece of advice would be just broader in that a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, I mean, I think I said it a bunch throughout both of these sets. A lot of this stuff just comes with experience. You kind of pick up these things naturally over time as you just get more familiar with the game, the mechanics, each character's animations, and things like that. And really, there's just no substitute for just playing a bunch of games. And it can certainly be daunting, but I at least have found it very, very rewarding just to learn more about the game, get familiar with it, and really just get to the point where I feel comfortable pointing out these things and feel like I kind of maybe start to understand the game a little bit more.
All right, well, that is our cast. Thanks so much, of course, to Thabsies, Lev Trotsky, Butterscotch, and Hyronious for the games. Thanks, SpedMonkey, for casting with me. Always a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you for hosting for us tonight.
If this looks like a game that you would enjoy playing, you should try it out. You can get SpyParty on Steam Early Access or from the developer's website at spyparty.com. If you buy it from the website, the developer gets a little bit more of the money. You get access to the forums on the website. It is still a game in beta, so there's still new features being added, new bugs being fixed, all of that. And there's a thriving community on discord.gg/SpyParty where we talk about the game, we talk about the strategies, we answer questions, and we run tournaments like the Winter Cup.
And also, there's a little bit of time, I believe, to sign up for the Penguin Pool, which is sort of the companion tournament to the Winter Cup. It's welcoming new players, so if this has inspired you to pick up the game finally and maybe try out competitive play, there's a little bit of time. Jump on Discord, contact Corvus, or just say, hey, I'm interested, and